Welcome into your Oklahoma State Franchise Postgame Show. This is a special edition of the Oklahoma State Franchise Postgame Show because there's still one more play to be run in this game, but we come on at the half hour. The crowd just erupted. Oklahoma State just won the football game 45-41. Oklahoma State beats West Virginia and gets bowl eligible. We really have to watch it because we just heard it behind us as we come on the air. Donovan, you trail 31-14 at halftime. The horns, the fireworks are going off behind us. What a comeback, come from behind victory on senior night for Oklahoma State.
Yeah, those guys showed a lot of pride, and we thought, and we talked about it on the pregame, that they would come out here. You wondered if they would have a letdown after coming up just a little bit short against an Oklahoma team that, frankly, they had on the ropes and should have beat. They come back out. They're not as sharp early on. They get down 31-14, but they rally back. They've done that continuously throughout the most part of the year. And come out with a big win. Here we are, bowl eligible, and beating a top 10 team. Big time place and big time win for Oklahoma State University.
Yeah, and that last play of the game was from about the 20-yard line, and Will Greer tried to find David Sills crossing in the back of the end zone. A.J. Green undercut it and batted it down with his left arm. Great coverage from A.J. Green, who really had a good day on David Sills. Sills scored a touchdown. He's a good receiver, and he made a good play, but A.J. Green had himself a pretty good day. Can't overstate how big of a win this is for Oklahoma State. It takes so much pressure off of next week's game. Now you can go play TCU, just play loose and go beat a team you're better than. If you're 5-6 going into that game, you're awful nervous taking that field.
Yeah, you might be pressing a little bit, but here we are. We're bowl eligible. We win 6 games. Obviously, it's not the 9 or 10 that so many Oklahoma State fans were looking forward to this year, but you got to be proud about the pride that this team showed, especially losing a ball game like we did last week. And this West Virginia team had beaten a lot of people. They had only lost 1 game up until this point. They got an NFL guy at quarterback. They got a really good defense. They've shown that throughout the season. And we come out here and we're consistent, and we don't have the kind of plays that we had in some of those past games like Texas Tech and Iowa State. We make plays when we need to make plays. We showed up defensively, even though, you look at the scoreboard and we give up quite a few points. But this defense was flying around. They were making plays. Like you said, A.J. Green, Rodarius Williams have a good day on Seals. He obviously made some plays being a big-time player. But I also have to say, Chuba Hubbard.
Yes. Great day. 158 all-purpose yards, rushing, receiving in place of Justice Hill, who was probable for this game and ended up not playing on senior night. Hopefully we haven't seen Justice Hill play his last game in Boone Pickens Stadium, but that's entirely possible. But yeah, Chuba Hubbard was fantastic in this one.
Yeah, and I'm watching him as he moves and as he runs, and he's a 10, 300-meter guy. He hit a couple of guys just running full speed, and you saw the collision of how violent it is. And it's not like, he's that speed that he has just kind of changes it, and he's learning to run and be a big-time college football back. And you saw him grow up quite a ton right here in front of our eyes as we beat a top 10 team in West Virginia. And L.D. Brown got quite a few snaps this game as well.
Yeah, LD played well.
He did, and Brailford, all of those guys, when you have a big win like this, you see all of those guys jump off the screen at you, and couldn't be more proud of the way these guys represented themselves, especially for these seniors.
What would you say if I told you that Oklahoma State gave up 41 points and, aside from the first drive, played pretty well defensively? Because Oklahoma State turned the ball over 3 times in its own territory. So Oklahoma State's defense was backed up with West Virginia on a short field, and a couple of those times were able to hold West Virginia to a field goal. The defense did what it needed to do. They did enough. Oklahoma State actually outgained West Virginia in this game, 604 for Oklahoma State to 553 for West Virginia. And the reason that's so significant is because at the end of the first half, West Virginia was outgaining Oklahoma State by 100 yards. So Oklahoma State outgained them by 150 in the second half. To trail 31-14, Oklahoma State won that second half 31-10. Oklahoma State really gave it to West Virginia in that second half. And this is a West Virginia team. I don't know, did you feel like they puckered up? Because I didn't really. Holgerson goes for it a couple times on 4th down. They convert. I didn't feel like they puckered up, but there was just a lot on the line in this game for West Virginia.
Yeah, it was, and I don't feel like they puckered up either. I feel like they came out and played to win. You go for it on 4th down, with 9 minutes left in the game. And they do that twice and end up, I think, getting a touchdown out of that
Will
drive.
Greer, a little scramble.
But you can't say that Oklahoma State didn't go out here and take this game away from West Virginia because, anytime you're playing with the lead, you're a little bit more conservative. But I thought that West Virginia stayed true to themselves and true to the gunslinger mentality that Dana Holgerson has. And he went out there and he did what he was supposed to do. But the momentum for Oklahoma State went their way, and then the guys just made plays. Cornelius running the football. He has over 100 yards rushing the football. He makes some strong runs, makes some throws in there. Guys are making plays. It was some plays that were not made out there on the field, but in a game like this, it happens, and you make the plays that you're supposed to make, which I think we did, and we made a few that we weren't supposed to make, and you win a big ball game.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fantastic. To me, the biggest halftime adjustment that Oklahoma State made, Oklahoma State struggled in the first half to run the ball. They were turning, they were handing off to Chuba, a little bit here, a little bit there, but they weren't getting chunked, and they were being faced with 3rd and 7s and 3rd and 8s. And I kept saying, I was sitting in the stands with my dad, and I told him, if they'll let Cornelius run the ball, he's got all the space in the world. Cornelius had 13 rushes in this game for 106 yards. Almost all of that came in the second half. He had a lot of space. The final 2 drives, down by 10, and then you put together 2 touchdown drives in the last 5 minutes of the game to win the football game. On those last 2 drives, I bet Cornelius had 60 yards on the last 2 drives. It's there. He's good at it. Let him do what he's good at, and it opens things up for your offense. He scored 14 points in the first half. You let your quarterback run the ball a little bit, you scored 31 in the second half. They've got to let him do that.
Yeah, and they were doing some different things scheme-wise where you obviously want to get Chuba the ball and those running backs the ball, but they were taking that defensive end, and even though they were in a 3-down front, they were having that defensive end try to step out, which is a bigger guy when you play 3 down, and he's 280, 290 pounds. Corndog is a good athlete, and you saw that as he stepped out there and made some of those plays off the edge, and to rush for 100 yards, to throw for, I think it was
338.
338.
Threw for.
I mean, the kid played, and what a way for him to go out with the adversity and criticism that he's faced. He showed up, ran the football tough, made the throws that he needed to make, and he was leading that team out there. I think that's one of the things that Coach Gundy, was so adamant on playing Corndog, because he's been around this program. He knows how to command this offense, and he's doing the things. That's not to say that those other guys in Sanders and Brown can't do those things, but as a coach, you can see some of those things that a quarterback is doing at a high level that might not show up on the stat sheet. And I think you saw some of that tonight. Obviously, it's easier to see those things when it comes out in your favor, but couldn't be more proud of Corndog and how he represented himself on senior night, especially with all the things that he's faced throughout the season.
Yeah, you talk about the adversity and the criticism Cornelius has faced throughout the season. He was facing it at halftime. He didn't play well in the first half. Threw 2 interceptions in the first half. Both were pretty bad. He threw into double coverage over the middle, and then he threw one out to the right sideline looking for Tyler Wallace. And, I mean, Aaron Rodgers couldn't have gotten the ball into that window. I mean, he was double covered. There was no way you could get the ball there. And he was being criticized on Twitter. People were talking about, here's Corndog again, 2 interceptions in the first half, down by 17 at halftime. So adversity and criticism, not just in the season, but in this game tonight for Taylor Cornelius. So for him to do what he did in that second half, he ended up 30 of 46 for 338, 5 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions for Cornelius. And he threw in 106 rushing yards on top of that. So he had 444 all-purpose, 444, shout out Jay-Z. Yeah, so Cornelius, he was absolutely fantastic. Tyler Wallace was not the leading receiver in this game for Oklahoma State. It was Dylan Stoner. Dylan Stoner had 9 catches for 127 yards. He muffed the punt on kind of a boneheaded decision. It would have only cost you 5 yards of field position if you let it roll. Now, you win the game, so those aren't magnified nearly as much.
Absolutely.
Your 4 turnovers aren't magnified nearly as much when you win the football game. But West Virginia, you could tell, clearly made up their minds before this game started, Tyler Wallace is not going to beat us in this football game. They took him away. Other guys stepped up and made plays.
Yeah, and credit to Johnson and Stoner to be will. He goes up and he misses that play down on the end zone, but they show it on the replay. He goes up and gets that ball, and number 2 coming from West Virginia ends up making a good play. And
punched it right out in between his arms, yeah.
But, yeah, those guys stepped up and made plays, and that's what those guys will have to continue to do against TCU next week and into the bowl game. And they'll grow up a ton from games like this. And throughout all of the games that they play, those guys will just continue to grow and continue to become better players, because I think Stoner is only a sophomore, right?
Redshirt sophomore, I believe, yeah.
Sophomore.
Been here 3 years, played 2.
And I think we'll have Johnson back as well. Will he be a senior?
I don't believe Johnson's going to be back. I think Johnson's gone after this season, but Wallace will be back. No, Tyron Johnson's a junior, pardon me.
Yeah,
I thought he was a senior. Tyron Johnson's a junior. They'll all 3 be back.
They've been bathed in the fire, and they're learning this year. And those guys got quite a few reps on last year, even with, guys like Marcel Aitman and James Washington on the field. So these guys are continuing to grow up and be bathed in that fire and learn in these moments, and that will help them be better players moving forward. And you even see the tight end who we hadn't seen. I think he was
Logan Carter.
Yeah, on the depth chart. I don't even know if he was on there.
That had to have been his first catch of the season.
But, I mean, he steps up and makes a huge play. And you got to be ready to do that.
Logan Carter was hit at the 7-yard line on that catch and powered his way, backstretched the ball into the end zone for a touchdown. Also, Landon Wolf, sophomore. All 4 of your receivers are back next year. Even if Justice goes, Chuba's still going to be around, LD's still going to be around, JD's still going to be around. You'll have either Spencer Sanders or Drew Brown. Oklahoma State, in pretty good position. Offensive line's always questionable, but skill positions, Oklahoma State, like always, is in good position moving forward with some young guys that are really productive.
Absolutely, and you don't know what guys we have redshirting who will go ahead or coming off an injury that will be inserted into that mix, but you got to be happy with the way that these young guys are coming along. You know they're not going to do everything right. They'll make mistakes, but they have the ability, and they're showing not just the ability, but to go out there and do it on the big stage. They did it tonight. You obviously want to do it for all 12 games, but they made the most of their opportunities, and you got to be happy after a win like this and what you have moving forward as we get ready for TCU and moving forward into 2019.
Absolutely. We come back, recap buy or sell, continue to talk Oklahoma State, West Virginia before we get out of here. Stay with us.
Stillwater Medical Center now offers a convenient way to view your health information online. It's secure, easy, and free. Our hospital and clinic patient portals allow you to view results and reports, medications and allergies, track visit histories, view upcoming appointment information, and see your statements. To enroll, go to stillwatermedical.com and click on the patient portal link near the top right of the page. If you have questions, please feel free to call 405-533-601.
Welcome back to your Oklahoma State franchise post-game show. A very cold Colby Powell and Donovan Woods coming to you live from the garage in Stillwater. North wind flipped around a little bit, Donovan. It's starting to feel like winter out here.
Yeah, it did, and it was some people here, like I said, in the pregame that were walking by in shorts, and we knew that they were going to be in bad shape, and even if they made it to halftime, they were going to be cold coming out at the end of the game. So, yeah, that north wind, it's definitely winter time, and that temperature got down in a hurry.
Yeah, I saw some girls in the stadium. They had their skirts on. They were looking cute, a little midriff, and they didn't make it to the second half. I would imagine they didn't make it to the end of the football game because it got really cold in the stadium. Maybe that's what Oklahoma State needed, a little cold weather to freeze West Virginia up a little bit. Will Greer, despite throwing for 364 yards, I didn't think he had one of his better games of the year. He wasn't very efficient, 27 of 48, and he only averaged 7.6 yards per pass. So I didn't think that Will Greer had one of his better games of the season. I thought Oklahoma State did a pretty good job of keeping the West Virginia passing game in check. Yeah, West Virginia did not have a 100-yard receiver.
Yeah, and they did a good job, you know, and I think it was something with what Coach Knowles was doing early on in the game, because Greer ended up missing quite a few throws.
He did.
When the game first started out. Now, he got back on track there, throwing to some of his guys and completed 6 or 7 in a row. But, yeah, he wasn't as sharp today, and, you know, maybe that's something that we did defensively, or maybe that was just something that he had to work out on his own. But either way, it worked out in Oklahoma State's favor, and it allowed us to end up help getting the victory.
Yeah, no doubt. Donovan, you've played college football. You know what it's like to make a bowl and to miss a bowl. You were, if I'm not mistaken, you were on the last Oklahoma State team who didn't make a bowl game.
Yeah.
That would have been your five? Gundy's first year.
Yes.
So that would have been your redshirt junior year?
Redshirt sophomore.
Redshirt sophomore year. Okay, so you make a bowl game. You get more practices, one, for the young guy. How many more practices, like 15?
Yeah, 15.
15 more. That's a lot of practice. How much does that mean for a football team?
It means a great deal, because for those guys that are redshirting and for those guys to go ahead who have been playing all season to get healthy, you want to go out there and be able to do that and do it under the lights and with practices and with coaches out there. If you don't have that bowl game, yes, you go and continue to train with your strength and conditioning staff, but there's just so much that you can get accomplished as a team going out there on the practice field, making preparations for whoever you're playing in the bowl game, and really getting better, really taking a look at yourself and being able to go out there and work on it and not just prepare to work on it in the spring. So having those bowl practices is extremely important for some of those younger guys. You get a chance to really practice them hard, and they get a chance to get the feel, and some of them might even play in the bowl game who you haven't seen a lot of. So those
especially
things
now that you don't have to worry about red shirts.
Exactly, exactly. So that 15 practices is extremely important. I think you get 15 in the spring as well. So just imagine you get twice as many practices as a team that didn't go to a bowl game, and that's significant for your team moving forward and the growth and development of those players who hadn't had a ton of it, and for those guys who have played some football, they get to play even more, and they get to do it under the watchful eye of your coaching staff and not just the strength staff.
So let me ask you this. What was the mood, what was the feeling the one year you all didn't make a bowl game? What does that feel like for a college football team? You finish on that Saturday and you're just kind of done? I mean.
Yeah, I mean, we come back and we have meetings and stuff, and they'll tell you the schedule of how we'll move forward, how we'll finish out the year. Definitely want to focus on academics so guys won't be ineligible for the following season. But, you know, everything is so structured for college athletes. When you have that time where you're just working out, you don't want to give these guys who their schedule from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock is pretty much taken care of for the majority of the fall, and then you can get them in the morning. You might can come bring them in for a meeting or something, but for the most part, you give these guys too much free time. And it's not just guys at Oklahoma State, it's guys across the country in college football. They don't know what to do with that new sense of time. You know, they got 8 more hours that they didn't have, you know, for the 6 months or 8 months, and guys get in trouble. Yeah. And if you got bowl practices, if you have things that guys need to be in attendance for. You can keep your thumb on those guys and keep them doing the right things, see them every day, and that's difficult to do when they're not in the building and you're not practicing. That time also, being able to keep your arms around those guys is very important.
Yeah, absolutely it is. That's Donovan Woods. I'm Colby Powell. This year Oklahoma State franchise post-game show recapping a 45-41 come-from-behind upset victory over the number 9 team in the country, the West Virginia Mountaineers. Oklahoma State gets bowl eligible, and we will now recap the buy or sell. If you're just joining us in the post-game, you haven't been with us before, every week we do buy or sell. We have 5 prop bets. We either buy or we sell. Whoever wins the most prop bets is the winner. We're 3-3-1 on the season. We're 3-3-1 no longer. Cornelius, buy or sell, he goes over 330. That was a good number. He ended up at 338. We both thought it was a good number. You sold, though. You didn't have faith in the corn dog. I had faith in my favorite state, Fair Food, and he went out and threw the ball for 338 yards. So I got the win on that one on the buy. Justice Hill and Chuba Hubbard, I put their combined number at 170. Justice Hill didn't play in the football game. Kind of hurt you on that one a little bit. You bought on that one. Chuba got close. Chuba got to 158 by himself.
If we would have put L.D. Brown's numbers in there, we probably would have made it to that 170. But, you know, it is what it is. You know,
it is what it is. Justice was supposed to play. I wasn't trying to cheat you. Justice was supposed to play. So I sold, you bought. I got the win on that one. The next one was Tylan Wallace at 150. That number wasn't even close. Tylan had his lowest receiving yardage output of the game, despite scoring 2 big touchdowns on the one-handed grab in the first quarter, and he scored the game-winning touchdown there at the end of the game where he caught it at about the 5 and backpedaled his way into the end zone. So Tylan only 62 yards, but still very effective in helping the Cowboys win this football game. You sold that one, I bought, so you got the win there. We both bought on the last 2. Greer at 360, another good number for the quarterback. He went to 364, so we both got the win on Greer, and then we both lost on Sills. David Sills' number was 110. He only ended up with 68 receiving yards. A.J. Green, I tell you what, against Texas, I thought he had the best game of his career. Against Baylor, I thought he had the worst game of his career, and he turned it around tonight, and he had himself a good night against David Sills.
Yeah, I think covering those bigger receivers for those corners, you know, both of those guys are 5'11", 6 feet. I think they might even be a little bit bigger than that. But in dealing with those receivers who might be 6'3", 6'4", you know, it obviously intimidates you if you're a guy that's 5'9" or 5'10", and you're not used to dealing with those bigger bodies. But when you have a chance to be a big corner out there, like a Richard Sherman, like who's the safety that played here, and he's playing for the Seahawks?
Trey Flowers.
Trey Flowers. Yeah. They're not intimidated by those guys that are, you know, big 6'3", big rangy guys, because they know that they have the physical tools not to get overwhelmed. So, you know, I think that showed with him covering Seals today. He made some plays and did some good things, and hopefully it continues next week as we play TCU.
Yeah, no doubt. So I moved to 4-3-1. I'll give you credit on your score prediction, though. Your score prediction was pretty close. You had Oklahoma State 49-45. You had them winning by 4 in the 40s. They won by 4 in the 40s. I had West Virginia picked like a big dummy, but I didn't win the buy or sell.
That's got to be a tie then, right?
Oh, no. We don't give ties for score predictions. We can't change the rules now. We're 11 weeks in. We can't change the rules going into the last game of the season. Tell you what, man. All right, 4-3-1, 3-4-1. Don will have a chance to even it up next week against TCU. That game, TCU went down to Baylor, won that game today, 16-9. What a barn burner that was. People, it's funny because people make fun of Big 12 games. They're like 48-47 last week or 66-59, but then a 16-9 clunker happens, and we're like, oh, what a terrible football game. Garbage, absolute garbage. So they were able to get the win down there. TCU, I'm trying to see, I think they're now 5-6, so I think they're going to be fighting for bowl eligibility. If I can get this to load over here, I'll be able to tell you for sure what TCU's record is. TCU is now 5-6. Oklahoma State 6-5. So if Oklahoma State wouldn't have won, both teams would be fighting for bowl eligibility. You're going to get TCU's best shot next week. You can play loose because now you're bowl eligible, but you can't relax because they need to get bowl eligible, and they're going to give you everything they've got.
Absolutely, and they'll come out with all of the stops. They'll probably have some gadget plays in there. And Gary Patterson, for his seniors and for all of those underclassmen playing for their crop of seniors, they'll want to go out and put them out on a good note and also become bowl eligible. So we'll definitely get TCU's best shot. And going on the road at a place like TCU will be a tough place to play. And this Oklahoma State team needs to celebrate this one tonight and then make sure that they get back in the lab and start preparation for these Horned Frogs, because even though they haven't been as successful as they thought they were going to be, anytime you have quarterback issues, that can be a probability for you. So, but, you know, they won a game, they beat Baylor, and here they are on the cusp of getting to a bowl game, and those coaches and all of their staff definitely want those 15 practices, and they'll be a benefit to that team just like it will be for all of these other teams who will be in bowl games. So they want that, and they'll go out there and give a great effort, and we need to match that intensity and do what we did today. Come out here and win a tough physical ball game against a quality opponent.
Yeah, no doubt. And also going to be fun next week, Baylor and Texas Tech play, I believe, in Waco. They're both 5-6. Winner goes to a bowl, loser, your season's over. You don't get the 15 extra practices, so that'll be fun. Kansas State beat Texas Tech today in Manhattan 21-6. 21-6 they beat Texas Tech. That's a shocking final score.
Texas Tech, when Bowman rolled out here and they looked like a team that could.
Bowman didn't play today. Still got the lung.
Possibly challenged for the Big 12. You know, you were kind of worried about what they would continue to look like for the rest of the Big 12, but you know, they've kind of come back to reality after having a hot start and kind of have been who most would expect them to be, right there at the middle to the bottom half of the Big 12. And you know, it's that way sometime again when you have quarterback problems. It's tough. It's tough to win without a quarterback.
And the thing is, Tech's got a good starter. They just don't have much behind him.
Yeah.
So Texas Tech had 181 total yards in that game today against Kansas State. So great win for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Time for us to wrap it up. Donovan, big one for Oklahoma State. 45-41, trailing 31-14 at halftime. That's a good win leading you into TCU next week, taking off the pressure because now you're bowl eligible after a big win against the Mountaineers. All right. We'll be back next Saturday. Don't know a game time yet. We'll figure out the game time probably tomorrow on Oklahoma State TCU, and we'll be back. We'll be somewhere indoors. I can make you 100% promise that we will be indoors next Saturday. So looking forward to that. Everybody come back with us. Thanks for joining us on your Oklahoma State Franchise Postgame Show.
Stillwater Medical Center now offers a convenient way to view your health information online. It's secure, easy, and free. Our hospital and clinic patient portals allow you to view results and reports, medications and allergies, track visit histories, view upcoming appointment information, and see your statements. To enroll, go to stillwatermedical.com and click on the patient portal link near the top right of the page. If you have questions, please feel free to call 405-533-6010.